Hey, good morning. We're glad you're with us today. It is good to be gathered together. It might actually not be morning where you're at, I don't know. But hey, it's good to be here this morning. My name is Jason. I am the student ministry pastor here, and this is my friend.
I'm Jen. You don't know my name.
I do know your
okay.
name, I promise.
I'm just making sure.
Hey, we're excited to just be able to worship today. We love the opportunity that our church is about real people. That's just you and me. And we are doing the best we can to live just relevant lives for Jesus and relentlessly pursue the new life that he has for us. So we're excited to be able to do that with you today.
So we want to say hi. Who is watching with us? Can you comment in? We want to say good morning to you. What have you been up to? What are some fun Christmas traditions that you've been doing? Share in the comments here.
Oh, man. Yeah, Christmas traditions, by the way. Good morning, Allison. Good morning, Vic. Christmas traditions, one of the things that happens at my house, I don't know why we started this whole elf on the shelf thing, but we sort of got wrapped into that years ago. And the creativity, after like 5 or 6 years, just going down the drain. So I've actually been thinking, let's just get rid of the elf and let's start over with some new things. So I'm thinking I don't know, we get a Santa on a Fanta or something, like just
the drink Fanta?
Yeah, just tape just mix it up, just surprise them one day.
A crock on a lock or something.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm getting this.
Yeah,
okay.
So you could get cut out a Drake and put Drake on a cupcake or something like that.
Yeah,
What do you have any thoughts out there on your creativity this morning? Just, Tony, what is something that you could do that's different than the elf on the shelf, but you could just have some fun with around your house?
We do not do elf on the shelf because I am just not creative at all, and I'm just not putting myself through that.
What about what we could do? We could do T Swift on a gift. Right? That'd be
Prancer
good.
on a dancer.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know.
Just start rhyming for us. What do you got? What do you got?
Among Us on a fungus. We're doing an Among Us night tonight with junior high.
Fungus? That's just
just put it on a mushroom. I don't know.
I guess.
All right. Anybody have
No
it? No
elf?
elf on the shelf here. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're smart, Carol, and I didn't get into that.
Michelle liked the Santa with Fanta.
Yeah. See, good.
Elves are creepy. I agree with that.
Hey, we want you to stay connected with all of our lobby experiences. We've got people, Pastor Rick, our online campus pastor, has got great hosts and gathered this morning. We would love to talk with you and just help you take next steps in your walk with Jesus. So if you're new, fill out a Connect card, get signed up with us. How do you do the Connect card stuff,
You can
Jen?
go to lwchurch.com/connect, or you can also do that through our app. And if you don't have our app, make sure you go ahead and download that. You can search in the Google Play or Apple Store to find that.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm excited about that's coming up is we are doing this family gingerbread house competition thing. So you can find whatever your family looks like. It can be just you. It can be you and kids. It can be you and your boyfriend. I don't know. Whatever you want to do. Just put together a gingerbread house, and then you can email that to Cole, C-O-L-E, at lwchurch.com and send a picture of that. We've got cool prizes for all the winners and first, second, and third
Till
place.
when? Like how long?
Till December 21st. So we've got
Okay.
about 10 days.
Okay, wait.
Oh, hello.
Something's happening here.
We have an interruption.
Hi, everyone.
This is Phil.
This is Phil.
I wanted to, I got to talk in the microphone or you can't hear me. I wanted to challenge Jason right now to build a gingerbread house.
Oh.
And in my processing this morning, I realized that nowhere is open at 6 o'clock in the morning. So my gingerbread supplies consist of going to the gas station and finding a
Wonder Bread.
Okay. And some strawberry jam here.
I feel like this is a peanut butter and jelly contest.
And some Jif.
Oh my.
And so, Jason, I was hoping if you want to put your microphone right here, here's what we'll do. You and I, for the next 4 minutes before we go live, we're going to compete to see who comes up with the best Wonder Bread house.
Okay.
Okay.
And do we get to vote then?
Yeah, you all can vote on who's got the best. But
Okay.
as Jen, as you're kind of explaining all this, you can. All right, so should we just go?
Well, I get to get my bread out first.
I need a knife.
So
Okay.
here's the thing. This is actually funny because neither Phil nor myself are festive Christmas people,
I don't know.
but we do get into competition. So, we will become festive very quickly.
All right, so I feel like peanut butter has got
Now,
to be the base.
Caroline,
Yeah.
Someone says they're hungry now.
Oh, gosh, I'm doing
Hey,
horrible with
if
this.
you have bread at home, you can join in on this fun.
Yes,
I would love to
this is
see
an
your picture of your
option
on,
Wonder
for
Bread
you.
house. All right,
So
go.
much time
It's
for
on.
it, bro.
Ultimately,
I feel like I gotta do
we
a
have a
base here.
gingerbread
Oh, no.
contest.
This is gonna
coming
be a
up.
mess.
Gosh, I'm gonna.
LW Kids is kind of putting it on, but anyone can do it. Submit your
This is so messy.
photos
You know, you have to preach
of your
from this.
gingerbread house
This is my teaching
by
table.
December 21st. And I think there's a hashtag
gosh.
with it, but I can't
Yeah,
remember.
I
Was it
can't-
LW
It's
on the
gingerbread contest? Go to the
on the
app.
app.
It's on the app.
We are
Download the
botching
app.
this really bad. Really, we are prepared for church this
LW
morning.
gingerbread.
Oh, gosh.
Contest,
Can we get a
maybe.
close-up on this? 'Cause
But
mine's
go to the
looking
app.
real good right
We
now.
really want you to participate this. Also, as you're at home and you
You're not
have
crushing me, bro.
kids,
You are not crushing me, bro.
you can go
I'm
to
like-
lwchurch.com/kidslive. You can access all of the Sunday lessons like they would be having at church. You can access that from home and
saying,
go
this
through
looks
those
about as good as my
lessons.
gingerbread house.
How are they doing here, guys? What do you think?
I think my gingerbread
I was
house
doing
looks
good
like
till I-
my normal gingerbread houses.
I need one more
Okay.
wall.
Oh, this is
Who
so
do you-
gross.
So far, comment
Yes.
who you think's doing the best, Jason or Phil.
It's JASON.
Team Jason,
Phil.
Team Phil.
Yeah, and if you want to,
Larissa says it looks like the dads
my
are making
gosh.
lunch in the morning for their kids.
That is exactly what it looks like.
This is very accurate, Larissa.
is exactly
They're
what
not
I got
been.
myself a base, a foundation going on here.
Yeah, you.
I need
How
more
did
bread.
they get in to that?
Watch. You ready for this? This is how they get in.
This is going downhill really fast.
Yeah, I'm making a TP version.
Oh gosh.
We also want you to
Look.
know that if you want to give to Living Water today, you
Need
can
a
do
little-
so through the app. You can go to lwchurch.com/give. It creates moments like this. No, not really. It helps with our mission
Dude, we're gonna have
of
to go to the
reaching
bathroom.
people for Jesus.
Wash my
And
hands.
Do you like how we've made you like the sole actual host now while we just play?
I'm like trying to do my best to keep the information rolling, the things that are important like
This is why I
giving,
brought the mic stand out, so we don't have to worry about it.
but I'm very distracted, so I'm sorry.
Oh, all right. It says Phil just smashed it. That I think that means a good thing.
I think I smashed it in the central. Like that was really good.
Yeah, I'm not hip with the lingo, so. I'm not
Phil
sure.
looks like he's been practicing.
Yeah,
Phil.
see, that's what I think too. He probably did this like all through the night, like, and I'm in here like covering myself in
Okay,
peanut
we've
butter.
given people a really good laugh this morning.
There we go.
Oh, and
We got
thank
the
you,
braces
Michelle.
on
I'm
here.
doing good. Thank you. I appreciate the positive feedback. I'm doing my best here with
Yeah.
these crazies.
I like that someone voted for Team Jen just because they're like
Yes!
the only
The
one.
milk. I need
Team
milk now so bad.
Jen.
Yeah, I'm-
Okay, we have 30 seconds. Any thoughts going into worship here?
My only thought is that if you're gonna submit one of these, really take your time and energy building these.
And maybe
Yeah.
use real gingerbread
Also, I
and
have
icing.
a serious question. I know we only have 18 seconds here, but do people actually eat their gingerbread houses when they're done with them?
No.
My kids did once.
Not
and
in the COVID
threw
era.
up. It was nasty. It was awful.
can imagine.
I'm so
Never
sorry that
again
we just said
do we-
that.
Yeah, never again. No.
Well,
Okay, let's get ready for worship
Yeah,
this
let's
morning.
go. Can only go up from here.
Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild, Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark, the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Christ by highest heaven adored, Christ the everlasting Lord. Late in time, behold him come, offspring of the Virgin's womb. Veiled in flesh, the Godhead see, hail incarnate deity. Pleased his bed with men to dwell, Jesus our Emmanuel. Hark, the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn the heaven-born Prince of Peace. Hail the Son of Righteousness. Light and life to all he brings. Risen with healing in his wings. Mild he lays his glory by. Born that Mendelssohn may die. Born to raise the sons of earth. Born to give second birth. Hark, the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn Hail the heaven-born Prince of Peace. Hail the Son of Righteousness. Light and life to all he brings. Risen with healing in his wings. Mount he lays his glory by. Born that man who may die. Born to raise the sons of earth. Born to give second birth. Hark, the herald angels sing, glory to the
Well, hey, church. My name's Dave, and welcome. This week has been pretty hard for me, and I love being able to just sit down and pour my heart out, and just to pour it out to God and to worship Him, because He's worth worshiping. I love being able to come here knowing that I have friends and family on the other side of that lens, knowing that people are out there who love the Lord and they want to seek Him, they want to see Him. And so I ask that, during these next couple songs, that you do that you seek him. He will show you himself in a myriad of ways. And so join us in worship with your voice, with your thoughts, with your praise, in whatever way you feel comfortable. But praise him. He's absolutely worth it.
Bring it all to peace. The storm surrounding me, let it break. At your name still, and call the sea to still, the rage in me to still every wave. And at your name,
Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus.
call these boats to leave, call these loves to sing once again. And I will praise
Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, 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 you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus. Your name is a light that the shadows can't deny. Your name cannot be overcome. Your name is alive, forever lifted high. Your name cannot be overcome. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus. Is a light that the shadows can't deny. Your name cannot be overcome. Your name is alive, forever lifted high. Your name cannot be overcome. Your name is a light that the shadows can't deny. Your name cannot be overcome. Your name is alive, forever lifted high. Your name cannot be overcome.
Hey everyone, as many of you already know, every year Living Water Church comes together during the holiday season for the Christmas Give. Living Water is a church that believes in radical, intentional generosity, and this Christmas Give is one of the ways that we get to live out this principle. Over the last 5 years, Living Water has given away over $300,000 to amazing organizations who are making a difference in the world, and it was all because of the Christmas Give. This year, our Christmas Give is going to look a little different. Not only are we going to be partnering with another incredible ministry, but we are giving you the opportunity to volunteer to go on a mission trip and be a part of helping communities in need. For 2020's Christmas Give, we are excited to say that we are supporting Samaritan's Purse U.S. Disaster Relief. In response to natural disasters, this organization goes into affected communities and provides spiritual and physical aid. Their desire to help communities clean up and rebuild has allowed them opportunities to share the love of Jesus in real-life scenarios. Check out this video.
Samaritan's Purse Rebuild is actually just another arm of the disaster relief ministry of Samaritan's Purse. We are that long-term commitment, helping to meet the needs of folks who just would not be able to recover on their own. Either they're uninsured or they're underinsured. For folks who qualify for our program, it could be from just a very simple repair to something as major as a complete new construction from the ground up. The one and only reason that Samaritan's Purse is in Nashville or any other rebuild is to share the love of Jesus Christ. Amen. Anybody can build a home, but we are here to share the love of Jesus, and when doing that, we're going to repair homes and rebuild homes also.
Did you and your family ever go to church much growing up? Or?
Being a pastor, I just love to encourage people to find a relationship with Jesus or to develop their relationship with Jesus. As I've talked with a few homeowners the last few days, I think that maybe some of them are believers, but obviously they could use some encouragement because they've been going through really difficult times, to be sure. But then, of course, there are others who I'm pretty sure they don't know Jesus yet, and so I just want to be an encouragement to them. Maybe if they have spiritual questions, be able to bring up the hope that we have in Jesus, like Peter says in 1 Peter, to do it gently and with respect.
So, Danny, what do you think about Jesus? Like, who do you think he was?
Our homeowner, Danny, has no profession of faith. He says his family went to church and he knows a little about God, but as volunteers have come into the area, as the staff have been able to just love on him and just to help repair his home, Danny is seeing that there's something to this God and to God's love, and that people can genuinely care for somebody without wanting something in return.
They're a lifesaver for me. They pretty much are. I would be almost out on the street with no hope for what I was going to be in the future. Now I have a good possibility of moving back in my old house, living a semi-normal life compared to what I was before the storm, in a much better house. And it showed me a light that I never saw before. And I can't say for sure if it'll continue or progress or what, but it showed me that there is a light there that, is worth checking into.
It's just that when they see real people with real hearts and a real love and a real concern for them, it changes them. And that's what the love of Christ does. The love of Christ changes people.
Living Water believes in doing whatever it takes to help people have an encounter with God. Partnering with Samaritan's Purse U.S. Disaster Relief is one way we can do this. So we have two goals this year for our Christmas Give. First, we want to raise $50,000 to help Samaritan's Purse fund their efforts. Second, we want to send 100 people on a week-long trip to help in disaster cleanup and rebuilding. We are partnering with a local group called After the Storm who will organize everything needed. And here's the cool part. The week-long trip would only cost you $50 to $100 tops. I want to encourage you to really consider giving this year, whether it's through money or signing up for a mission trip. During this next week, talk with your spouse, your family, those you trust about what you could give to be a part of this amazing opportunity we have as a church. If you want to give, we have 3 easy ways for you to do so. First, you can download our LW Church app and click on Christmas Give. Second, you can visit our website at lwchurch.com/give. Or third, you can text 84321 with your dollar amount. To be a part of a mission trip for 2021, simply click on the Christmas Give tab on our app or visit our website at lwchurch.com/christmasgive. I pray that you will partner with us this year to bring hope and restoration to these hurting communities.
It's been a number of years now, but I can remember back when my wife and I began to go about picking out names for our children. And maybe like some of you, we kind of did some study and I wanted to find some names that we felt really spoke to our hearts and fulfilled sort of some purposes that God might have for their life. And so with our oldest, Victoria, we named her that because it means victorious spirit. Now, I'll admit that one sort of came back to bite us a little bit because she is completely unwilling to lose any argument. But I love the fact that she's so driven. Our son Micah, that name means who is like God. And from the beginning we knew that God was going to use him to in some amazing ways throughout his life, reveal to people who Jesus was. We've got a daughter named Raina, which means song of the Lord. And this is so perfect for her because she's constantly going about her life and just living it as if God is continually singing over her with songs of love and joy. Then we've got a son named Ian, and if you know anything about his story, before he came to live with us and was adopted, his name used to be Julian. And we chose to shorten it to Ian because we loved the meaning of that name and really felt that is exactly what God had provided him for us as this gracious and wonderful gift to our family. Now, I'll admit things go kind of downhill from there. You look at my name, Jason, which means healer. And if you know anything about me and my 20 broken bones and my 13 surgeries, that name has proven to be quite ironic. But we're in this series called The Names of God, and we're learning about the character and the nature of God based on the names that are used to describe him in the Bible. Last week we began in one of the early chapters of the Bible with a couple, Abraham and Sarah. And God had come into their lives and promised them a son. And even though Abraham and Sarah were way old in their age, and Sarah had not been able to have children her whole life, God had promised them this son. And in the midst of their story, this other woman, Hagar, gets kind of tangled up with them. And she has a son named Ishmael. And eventually the story goes that she is kind of abandoned and she's left helpless and desperate, waiting to die. And God comes along beside her and cares for her. And she looks up to the Lord and she calls him El Roi, which means the God who sees me. Today we're going to talk about another name of God, and it's the name Jehovah Jireh. And it means the Lord will provide. Now we can get lost in Hebrew and in Greek, but I'm just going to focus on the English of that word. If you take this idea of provide and you break it down, you've got this first part, pro, which means beforehand, kind of like to be proactive. And then you've got this other part, vide, or it's where we get our word video, which means to see or to watch. And so when we think about provision, what it means is that before you and I are even aware of it, God has already seen our needs, and he's already working to meet our needs. So when we're worried and when we're overwhelmed or when we're completely caught off guard by what life throws our way, we can be assured that God has seen it and that God is prepared for it, and that because God has seen it, God will provide. In Genesis 22, we continue this amazing story of Abraham. And if you will give me the next 20 minutes of your life, I guarantee that you will know God better at the end of this time. In Genesis 22, it says, "Sometime later, God tested Abraham's faith. "Abraham," God called. "Yes," he replied, "here I am." "Take your son, your only son, yes, Isaac, the one you love so much, and go to the land of Mariah. Go and sacrifice him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains that I will show you." Now it says here from the very beginning that God tested Abraham. Now, I don't know many people out there that like tests. Maybe some of you do, but most of us don't really look forward to them all that much. But we should know that there's a difference between testing and between being tempted. The Bible is very clear that God does not tempt us with evil. It is not in his nature, nor is it his desire for us. Temptations arise from within, and temptations are the weapons of Satan. But God does bring about tests in order to help us grow and to develop and to align our lives with his purpose. It is both for our benefit and for his glory. In other words, God gives us a test to bring out our best. He wants to bring out the best in us. In fact, in James chapter 1, verses 3 and 4, it says, "For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing." And so he gives Abraham this test, and he says, "I want you to take your son Isaac and sacrifice him before the Lord." Now this is one of the most gut-wrenching stories in the Bible, and if we aren't careful, we will read this through human eyes only. But you and I can't read Genesis 22 through human eyes only, because if we do, we're going to miss the point of the test of Abraham. See, if we read this story casually, you might misinterpret the intent. God is not saying that he is for human sacrifice. God is opposed to such behavior. Yet God is about making sure that we have nothing on the throne in place of him. That God wants to bless us according to his will for our life. God wants to give us Isaacs. Yet if we love the Isaac more than him, then our Isaacs will have to be sacrificed. See, listen to this. Don't miss this. What God truly desired wasn't to have Isaac. What God desired was to have all of Abraham. But he knows that if we're not willing to lay our Isaacs down, that he will never have 100% of us. I mean, you can be assured today that God is going to require many, many Isaacs of you over the course of your life. So how does Abraham respond? It says, the next morning, Abraham got up early. He saddled his donkey and he took 2 of his servants with him, along with his son Isaac. And then he chopped the wood for a fire for the burnt offering, and he set out for the place that God had told them about. On the 3rd day of their journey, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. "Stay here with the donkey," he said to his servants. "The boy and I will travel a little further. We will worship there, and then we will come right back." So Abraham placed the wood for the burnt offering on Isaac's shoulder, while he himself carried the fire and the knife. One of the most stunning things that we read in this story is the first phrase of verse 3. The next morning, Abraham got up early. I don't know about you, but I can't imagine getting up early the next day knowing what is asked of me. I'd have probably delayed that as much as possible. I would have laid there in the bed with the covers over my head. I would have tried to go back to sleep in denial, or worse, I would have been completely obstinate about it. I mean, after all, God made Abraham wait 25 years after promising the son before that promise came to be. Certainly, he can make God wait for a little while. 25 years, Abraham had patiently waited for a promise that would fulfill his life. And yet the moment God says, sacrifice your boy, he's up early the next morning and ready to go. Now this is probably a point for another sermon, but it's worth mentioning that delayed obedience is disobedience. And so he saddles his donkey and he takes 2 servants, and he gathers his son, and then he begins chopping the wood to take with him. Can you imagine how grieved he was? Can you imagine maybe even how angry he was as he was doing this? And they journey for 3 days until they arrive at the place of the mountain that the Lord had in mind. And Abraham tells his servants to wait here. And he says, the boy and I are going to go up a little further to worship. And then he says something amazing in verse 5. Don't miss this. He says, and then we will come right back. How did he know that both he and the boy would return? Did he demand further explanation of God? No. Did he receive some sort of additional instructions? Not that we can see. Did Abraham think that he was going to come to the moment where he was about to slay his son and then that God was going to stop him? I don't think so. In fact, Hebrews chapter 11, verses 17 through 19 tell us exactly what Abraham was thinking in this moment. It says, Abraham, who had received God's promises, was ready to sacrifice his only son Isaac, even though God had told him, Isaac is the son through whom your descendants will be counted. Abraham, here's what he's thinking. Abraham reasoned that if Isaac died, God was able to bring him back to life again. That's how much faith Abraham had. He was so fully convinced to trust God's promise to bless him with this son for generation after generation that he believed that even if he was forced to kill his boy, that God would raise him from the dead again. Absolutely, it shatters his heart to think about what he must do, but he is full of faith that both he and his son will walk back down that mountain together. And he teaches us that faith does not demand explanations. Faith rests on promises. Faith rests on the promises that God has already given. Now, Isaac, he's a smart boy. And so as they walk up the hill, eventually he begins to realize that they have everything that they need except an animal sacrifice. And I can't imagine that Abraham was all too chatty on the way up. But when his son Isaac asks him about it, Abraham simply responds that the Lord will provide for himself. And so they reach the top and they build an altar. And the time comes. And I suppose it could have been that there was a struggle. Maybe Abraham, it could be that he ambushed his son. But we know historically that Isaac was either in his late teens or early adult years. And Abraham by this point is well over 100 years old. Now I know that there are a lot of boys out there who think that they can take their dad. In the case of my kids at least, it's not quite true yet. But I have a feeling that if Isaac is a young man and Abraham's over 100, I think Isaac could have put up a pretty decent fight. Or worse, he could have outrun his father. See, I think more likely Abraham sat Isaac down and he reminded him of all the things that God had promised. And he assured Isaac that this step that they must take goes well beyond their explanation, and it forces them to rest on the promises of God. And were there tears? I can't imagine it any other way. I imagine them weeping and bawling and embracing and not wanting to let go. But I think Isaac got on that altar willingly, knowing what was about to happen, and choosing instead to put his faith in God. And in so doing, he modeled the same act of worship that was required of each of us. What does Romans chapter 12, verse 1 say? It says, "Therefore, my brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, I urge you to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. For this is your spiritual act of worship." God, you can have my Isaacs. You can have my desires. You can have all of me if that's what you ask for. But the problem with a living sacrifice is that it tends to want to climb off the altar. when it hurts, when we don't understand, when things get difficult. But Isaac lays on the altar. And Abraham takes the knife and prepares to do what is asked of him. And then an angel of the Lord shows up and he tells Abraham, stop, don't harm the boy, for you have indeed shown your obedience to the Lord. And then in verse 13, it says, then Abraham, in that exact moment, then Abraham looked up and he saw a ram caught by its horns in the thicket. And so he took the ram and he sacrificed it as a burnt offering in the place of his son. And Abraham named the place Jehovah-Jireh, which means the Lord will provide. Abraham identifies this name of God, which indicates the magnitude of his ability to care for us, whose compassion and his faithfulness is so abundant that in all things, before you know you need it, he sees it. Jehovah-Jireh, the God who sees beforehand and provides. That in that exact moment, and at just the right time that it was needed, Abraham looks up and finds a ram caught in the thicket. I mean, are you kidding me? See, I told you from the beginning that this story wasn't really just about Abraham and Isaac. The point of this story is so much bigger. The point of this story is this, that what God had asked of Abraham is ultimately what God would require of himself. That it was always God's plan that Jesus, his son, would be sacrificed for us. Before we ever knew we needed it, he saw it. That Christ was always to be slain from the moment he arrived on this earth as a baby. Even before the foundations of our world were put into place, the Father did what you and I could not bear to do. He offered his son as a sacrifice for us. And Christmas is the celebration of the arrival of the greatest provision in history. In Romans chapter 5, verse 6, it says, you see, at just the right time, when we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. So you don't have to wonder about, will God see me? Will God be able to provide for me? He has proven it in the deepest possible way. Romans 8, 31, 32, it says, what then shall we say in response to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? Now listen to this. It says this, he who did not spare his own son, but gave him up for all of us, how will he not also, along with him, graciously give us all things? No matter what you're facing, your trust in God's faithfulness is never in vain. But just like Abraham, who arose early in the morning, your obedience to God at the right time is what creates the opportunity for God to meet your need at the right time. The only thing that can stand in the way of receiving the provision of the Lord is our delayed obedience. But because Abraham obeyed, not only did he get his Isaac back, but he got many Isaacs for generation after generation after generation. And so if you're listening and God is asking you to lay something down before him, don't be afraid. That thing is not the prize. He is the prize. And if you've been called to follow the Lord on some difficult journey that lies ahead of you, don't delay. And if you're approaching this Christmas season without an understanding of why Jesus came in the first place, know that he came because he saw your need for a Savior before you knew it even existed. And he loved you enough to provide one for you. Jehovah-Jireh, the Lord will provide.
Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turns his face toward you and gives you peace. The Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turns his face toward you and gives you peace. Amen. 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 Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. The Lord turns his face toward you and gives you peace. Amen.
One of the things we learned today is that it's important for us to act the moment we see God calling us to something. And it's through that action that it opens the door for God to be able to provide the way that He wants to. I encourage you this week just to look for those small moments and those small opportunities where God is asking you to step out and to trust Him and believe that He has already seen it. And whatever you need on the other side of it, He's going to provide it. One of the greatest ways that you can be a part of that is by partnering with us on our Christmas Give. There's so many opportunities for you to follow the Lord in obedience in that. Maybe it's by challenging yourself to give up some income, some money, some finances that you can contribute towards meeting that need as we partner with Samaritan's Purse to provide disaster relief all across our country. Maybe it's taking the opportunity to sign up for one of the trips, that God is actually going to use you to be that thing that shows up at just the right time in somebody else's life, that thing for them, that provision looks like you knocking on their door with a team of people and helping rebuild their home. I encourage you to look for those moments and don't be afraid, and trust God that He has got it and He is with you in the process. We look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great one.